Hola, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. We are today August 12, 2020. The first thing that I want to say before we start off this video is that I would really appreciate if some or most or all of you would go ahead and donate to the channel. One of the particular reasons why I ask is because YouTube sadly has demonetized some of my videos pertaining to deportation, as well as a few of the videos that I filmed for you in the past. They are stating that some of the terminologies that I'm using for these videos is not appropriate for the content and is not appropriate actually for monetization. If you guys are finding that these videos have been extremely informational and helpful to you, I would kindly ask that you go ahead and check out our PayPal link and donate and support the channel. It helps a lot to continue with this work. Thank you. Now for today, we are going to close off because I did promise you guys that I was going to work on 4 videos pertaining to deportation to Haiti. I want to thank so many of you for some of the videos, especially the very first video that has absolutely reached almost 4,000 views in a month and almost at 100 likes. Unfortunately, this video is not monetized. It would have been a nice change in my pocket, but that let me see that the information was well received, so I really thank you for that. So to close off this series that I hope that you guys enjoy and that you guys learn from, we are going to be talking about deportation to Haiti, criminal mindset. Now, one of the reasons that I've decided to talk about it is because I believe that the first videos was informational. The second one, I went ahead and gave you some tips for some people who are coming here and getting deported. The third one, I think we touched on how and if, the deportees could get truthfully rehabilitate here in Haiti. Now for the fourth one and for the last one, I decided to touch on the criminal mindset because I sort of wanted to come here and talk a little bit about why it can be a lot more easier for people who are getting deported, depending on why they are getting deported, especially for the people who are getting deported who are into the illicit activities such as drug trafficking, money laundering, like any type of illicit activities that they were doing, and why it can be a lot easier for them to stay in that lane of work, right? So for this purpose of this video, let's go ahead and read what I wrote, and then we're going to go ahead and just dive into it and start to talk about it. So the first thing that I talk about, I said, why is it easier for deportees to Haiti to fall back into the lane of criminal activities? That's the first question that I asked. Then I said that first thing, coming back to Haiti, these people who are getting deported, as we've touched before, have more than likely they don't have any guidance, right? So they come here and once they get signed out, they are left out to fend for themselves. So a lot of times the majority of the people who are coming here that are getting deported, they're starting off with really no guidance, nowhere to go about. So that's already for them, it's kind of like, damn, what am I going to do, right? The second thing, I said that more than likely, these people that are coming here, they end up either in the hands of other deportees because, a lot of times, because even when you're deported, the way that you speak the English language, let's say you're coming from the United States, people can sense that you're not someone who has lived in Haiti. People will sense that, and they will ask questions. So a lot of times deportees, they link up with one another, which is fairly understandable. Or I said that they end up with family members who don't care or are too tired to care about them, which is the truth. Unfortunately, comes a time you come back to your country, even when you have people who support you for a first few months after that, especially here in a country where you always have to survive. People are not really going to be here and hold your hand, especially if you're coming back as a deportee, right? So I said the last thing is that deportees, sometimes they end up in the streets, if they don't have anywhere to be. Sometimes, people might stay with family members for a few weeks and then they are not comfortable. They don't want to be there, then they are back in the streets of Haiti where they have now to fend for themselves. And the streets of Haiti it's not a joke. Okay, so I said the third thing I talked about, I said Haiti being a very unstructured country, you will have challenges many challenges finding your foot and will and may succumb to your old ways. We talk about that, I believe, in the last videos. I can't recall, because the reality is, like, for you to like find work, if you don't have the, as we talked before, if you don't have the necessary things to survive in life, if you don't have a shelter, if you don't have water, if you don't have food for your belly, then you're going to go out and you're going to do whatever you need to survive, right? So that's primary things, right? The fourth thing I said, guilty by association. People may introduce you to certain circle as such, and you will be asked one way or another to do a favor or two. Now, right now, in the present moment, many people know me two ways. You have people who know me as a YouTuber. You know, people recognize me. They say, oh, that's a Haitian YouTuber who gives these information. And you have people who know me in the lane of the nonprofit, because that is where I worked. When I'm international, you know, I get projects. So they recognize me under the youth agency. So when people know me as such, let's say that, you know, I get invited somewhere or I end up somewhere, and the people who know me as a YouTuber would introduce me as such. They would say, hey, you know, this is Daisy. She's a YouTuber. She does extraordinary videos for Haiti. Check out her channel, things of the sort. Or the people who know me as a person who works with the, you know, youth agency or a nonprofit or in projects, they'll say things like, oh, this is Daisy. Yes, you know, she worked in such and such project and such and such. So people start to know you based on the lane of life that you have currently going for some particular time, right? So with YouTube, you have a lot of projects that comes to me through YouTube, and you also have a lot of projects external to YouTube that come to me, but they're all because of the work that I do. So that means that when you have probably lived a life of crime, let's say for 10 plus years, even when you are trying to change your life, you have to take into consideration that people who knew you prior to this time, when you live a life of crime for 10 to plus years, you have to remember that even when you are trying your hardest to change that aspect of yourself, people are going to refer to you from that lane, from that past life. People are going to refer to you, oh, this is so and so, you know, he did money laundering, da 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 da, or drug trafficking, da 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 da, and that's how you're going to get introduced. This is one of the particular and primary reason why I talked to you in, I believe, video number 2. I stated that your narrative might want to change once you come here. You might want to have a new identity if your goal and objective is to change your life around. Because the minute that you get deported and you stay in a particular circle, even when you want to be out of the circle, people know you from that circle. People know you from what you need, what you used to do. It's a lot more easier, because let's briefly take a scenario. So here you are, you're in Haiti, and you are associating with other people that are in the same lane, but people who knew you, maybe you linked up with other deportees in the plane, you know, but you know, people talk, hey, why are you coming down? What did you do? Blah, 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 blah. So there you go, and you get introduced. You get introduced to people. So don't be surprised if one way or another you receive a call. You might just receive a call from, you know, somebody, or any type of call, and the call is asking you to do something that is in the lane of work of what you used to do before. Do you understand what I mean? So then, if you are not a strong-willed individual, or if you are not, you don't have any cash, you don't have any money, this is how deportees can continue to be in that life of crime. Because it's kind of like, what are my options? It's kind of like, okay, what do I do? Or the other thing that happens is that you, as I mentioned to you in the last videos, the other things that happen is that, yes, you know, you may have certain organizations who come down, who starts projects in Haiti, and they are hiring deportees to work with them, and then the pay is just horrible. Now, I don't know about you. I have not worked as a hourly pay, and almost 10 years now. I have not worked as an hourly pay, nor have I worked as someone who can get paid monthly. You know, I have been working as an independent contractor for 4 or 5 years now in projects, and the pay is very different. And the way that I get paid now, I'm very accustomed to the money that comes to me. I'm very accustomed to how I can budget and how I can receive my money. So that means that I may get paid with a lump sum of money before or after project, and then I use that money to do the things that I need. I have become very not really, you know, it hasn't been, you know, for me to work hourly, you know, it just hasn't been that for me for some times. So I have known people in the past who have been in a certain lane of life, and the money flow was so good that once they go back to work legitly, it's just very unnerving for them, because when they think about, damn, look at how much I'm getting paid and I'm putting work, whereas I could have done something else and get a lot more money. So you also have that mindset, which is one of the reasons that I said that the great thing for any deportees to do would probably be the entrepreneurial route, would probably be to start a business, you know, build anything, because at the end of the day, the people who have lived the life of crime, it's kind of like you have a different way of life. You know, you are not necessarily someone who, you may not be necessarily someone who can sit at a desk for 8 hours. There are so many other ways for people to get money these days, especially here in a country like Haiti. I still believe that you can legitimately make a lot of money, because as I mentioned to you before, coming here in Haiti as a deportee, hold on, so sorry about that. Like I was saying to you before, you know, it would have been a lot more easier for people to, like, because deportees, or anyone, depending on how you live and how you work, it may be that you're not the type of a person who can sit at a desk, you know, and be working for 8 hours, or you might not be the person who really loves to have, you know, people breathing down your neck telling you what to do. So these are all evaluations that organizations who work with deportees, to me, would have to do when they work with a particular individual, because the reality is that not all of us can work the same way. Not all of us can be in the same lane. So this is very, very important. Now, the last thing that I said that the life of a crime is that unless someone has the true desire to change their outcome. It is a hard road to attain. Hard, but not impossible. This is to conclude. I do not want to say that just because you were in the life of crime that this is only, but you know, you got the dirty politicians, you got the street people, you got the people with money, you got so many people that can recruit deportees to do their bidding for them. You have a country that is totally on lockdown, where opportunities are there. The opportunities are here, but you know, just closed down. So it's not to me to say to you that the life of crime is not something that you cannot escape, but you know, we have to be very realistic. And we have to understand that the people who are coming down to Haiti as deportees, as I mentioned to you guys before, they have a lot more chance to get recruited and do all sorts of crazy activities. Now, of course, when I say this, I do not take into account people who are getting deported probably because of their legal papers, and they're coming from good families, you know, people who might have done, you know, very, very, you know, not many crime, and they decide to deport them, and or people who have felonies, but you know, they come from good families, people who want them to succeed, and they want to change their life around. But you know, as I close down this video, I'm not going to sit here and say that it's not impossible, because impossible is not part of my vocabulary. So I'm definitely not going to sit here and say that it's not impossible, but I know it's going to be very challenging. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you guys have enjoyed this series. I personally have enjoyed doing it. You know, as I mentioned to you before, in the past, I have definitely wanted to work with street kids, not with deportees. I've wanted to work with street kids, and I saw the in-depth of doing this work. I saw how dangerous it was, because there was just a lot going on in the back end, you know, from receiving fundings, from, you know, so many things that you guys can fill in the blanks. I enjoyed doing the deportation series. It was great feedback, you know, great questions, great comments underneath the video. Thank you so much. If you find these information very helpful to you, do not forget to support the channel. This is PayPal is for now what I am working with, you know, and I'm working on getting something else for Cash App here in Haiti. Maybe we'll see how that goes. So thank you so much, guys, for watching this video. I hope that you guys will watch this video soon enough, and I will see you in the next.